Today we're going to be working on the JL. With this 2.0 liter, we're going to come across some coolant issues that we've had in the past. And it's really hard to tell and test where they're coming from. In this particular case, we're looking at the coolant overflow. It's very common, especially when you got the turbo right here with all this heat. You can see there's a heat shield underneath here, but this coolant tank is made out of two individual pieces that are glued together. So as the pressure builds in the coolant tank, usually around 15 pounds, and then you've got the heat coming from the turbo, you can end up with a really big problem where it starts to separate. And it's hard for people to see because when the vehicle's not under pressure, you're not going to see it. But you can always tell a telltale sign, as we can see over here on the sides with it running down, and you can see it's coming from the seam itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this coolant overflow, but we're going to do a little bit of an upgrade with a fully aluminum one so we don't have this problem anymore in the future. Before starting, always make sure the engine is cool. You can also come to the upper hose and squeeze it to make sure there's no pressure at all on it before removing the cap. Once you know there's no pressure, you can continue forward. First thing you're going to do is remove this upper vent line. Snap-on makes a special tool for this, for taking these hose clamps off, but if you don't have that, a pair of pliers will work just fine. So in this particular case, you just put it on, squeeze down, and you're done. You can release, and then just set it somewhere out of the way. You have the vacuum line here, this bracket to the vacuum line that comes on here. These are kind of a pain in the butt, so we're just going to take and remove it right from there. Set it out of the way. There's a bracket here with two 10mm nuts. You're going to want to remove them to get it out of the way. Once you've removed the nuts, you just lift up and shake a little bit at the same time. You'll notice that right here is just a little rubber bushing that goes on a nipple right here to hold the bottom portion of it. Now you have plenty of access to get to the inlet line right here at the bottom, which is held on by a clip, as you can see. To remove this lower hose, all you have to do is insert a screwdriver and pull the clip upward. That releases the pressure, but that should be more than enough to just get underneath here and just wiggle a little bit to release the line, and it'll come off. The actual seal's down in the bottom of the hose. So this is the area that you're just going to worry about. If there's any excess coolant that drops out, it shouldn't be too much. You can also block this line off and squeeze it so that you don't lose more. We placed an old towel down just to make sure, just because the way that the bladder is in this does not want to let all the coolant out. So not to make a mess, we put a towel down. You've got this little 10mm bolt here at the bottom holding the tank itself in place. We're just going to take that out. Set this off to the side, and the tank itself should come out, and you can see this mounting tab in the front. Just going to want to play with it until it releases. You will also have to pay attention to watch to make sure the nipple on the bottom doesn't catch. Now you have the old tank out of the way. Now you're going to want to make sure and grab this clipped nut off of the old one, because you're going to need that on the new tank. All you have to do is pry underneath. The nut will now fit onto the new tank and just clip in place again, like that. You're going to want to make sure, if you'll notice, these foam pads are there. They're there for a purpose, especially with this new piece. You're going to have some vibration if you don't leave those in there, so leave that alone. Now you'll notice on the new tank, you have a tang here, and then this is exactly where the bottom was mounting, right here. So we're just going to insert this into the mounting tang. Be careful with this. And then just come down. You can put your 10mm back in place, right here. And we're going to just tighten it down. Before reinstalling, make sure that this is clear of any debris or anything that might have fallen down in it during the time. Then you're going to want to replace the clip back in place so that you can actually feel when the nipple snaps down in and actually seals the rubber seal in place so that it does not come back apart. So now we're just going to take this and apply a little bit of pressure until you hear that click. Once you hear the click, just make sure and pull back down on it and make sure that it's nice and firm and isn't moving or sliding back off. Okay, we'll now just take and come back in. Remember this nipple on the back here? We're just going to set it back in place, vibrate it back down. You now have it firmly mounted. You just reinstall the two 10mm nuts. Now we just reinstall the overflow nipple. Let it off. Oops. And we're going to fill it back up with coolant. This whole job shouldn't really take you much more than probably about 20 minutes, but definitely make sure that the vehicle is cool before continuing forward. You don't want to have to deal with all this heat. And there you have it. A nice new tank that's not going to leak.